Speaker, and can I start by commending honourable friends and colleagues for their incredibly powerful contributions, and may I also congratulate the honourable members for, and there's quite a few of them, so bear with me, Fulham and Heston, Stretford and Urmston, Maidstone and Weald, Brighton Pavilion and Basingstoke for supporting this backbench business debate. It is absolutely necessary that we have such an important debate on the floor of this House, and it's not without the contributions of the honourable member for Batley and Spen, Edinburgh West, and my honourable friend from Women and Equality Select Committee that we are able to give a voice to these important matters. The UN initiative of the International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women serves to remind us of some of the worst human rights abuses imaginable. Violence against women persists in systemic abuse across the globe. And I echo the sentiments of the honourable member for Feltham and Heston that women's rights are human rights. Though large strides have been made in recent years, as we have already heard today, there is still a long way to go. More than 20 years ago, after the UN General Assembly Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women, 1 in 3 women still experience physical or sexual violence, mostly by an intimate partner. Violence against women encompasses wide ranges of abuse, including domestic violence, sexual violence, female genital mutilation, honour killings and trafficking. Madam Deputy Speaker, these are abhorrent acts, and we all have a part to play in their eradication. In the words of the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, break the silence. When you witness violence against women and girls, do not sit back. Act. Today, I am asking the Government to follow that command and to act. We are in the middle of Unite's campaign's 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence, which has taken place from the 25th of November until the 10th of December. I will give way.
Thank my honourable friend for giving way. The 16 days are marked by all kinds of activity across the country and indeed increasingly, I think, around the world. In my constituency, the Maryhill Women's Centre, which does incredible work supporting women from all walks of life, and especially those who have been affected by gender-based violence, have a series of events to show welcome their activities and the activities that are going on across the country.
Friend for that intervention. I welcome every single effort across the UK to eradicate violence and to raise awareness of this important subject. This year's theme of Unite's 16 Days of Action seeks to raise funds to resource the services which do this vital work each and every day to end violence against women and girls. In response to a major shortfall in resources and in tightening budgets, they do all that they can to raise this awareness. Frameworks such as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which includes specific target on ending violence against women, need adequate funding if they are to result in significant change. This new Global Development Agenda was adopted and ratified by every UN member state this year and aims to achieve gender parity and equality and empower all women and girls. Big projects are taking place worldwide, such as the NGO Physicians for Human Rights, working in Kenya and the Democratic Republic of Congo to work with doctors, nurses, police, lawyers and judges to enhance access to justice for survivors of sexual violence. UN Women are working in Ethiopia, Jordan and Myanmar to develop essential health and legal services for women subjected to violence. However, funding and support is also needed closer to home. Madam Deputy Speaker, can I take this opportunity to recognise the work of my honourable friend for Glasgow Central, for her work on the Rape Clause campaign, my honourable friend for Paisley and Renfrewshire North for his work on the White Ribbon campaign, and my honourable friend, the member for Banff and Buchan, for her work over many years on the matter of gender-based violence, and invite all honourable and right honourable members to support her private member's bill next week, which seeks to prevent and combat violence against women and girls, and asks the Government to ratify the Istanbul Convention. Can I seek to remind all honourable and right honourable members that Article 1 states the purpose of the Istanbul Convention is to prevent, prosecute and eliminate violence against women and domestic violence, and to contribute to elimination of all forms of discrimination against women and girls in law and in practice. Can I also take this opportunity to commend the work of Dr Marcia Scott and Scottish Women's Aid and all of the staff of my own local Women's Aid South Lanarkshire for the work that they do each and every day. Madam Deputy Speaker, turning to the domestic sphere, the Child Maintenance Service, the UK Government's it could be argued, places survivors of violence at risk through the operation of the Child Maintenance Service. The service operates on the basis whereby the parent caring for children is either charged a 4% collection fee for using the service. This amounts to an additional tax on a parent who has suffered domestic violence. There is an alternative to this tax. However, the caring parent can avoid this child maintenance tax by giving their bank details to the other parent directly in what is known as a family-based arrangement. I have heard from constituents who are survivors of domestic violence and who are too frightened to establish a family-based arrangement due to the legitimate fear that their abuser will be able to access their personal details, or where they have moved to a place of safety to relocate themselves for fear that their life is in danger. What must the Government do to resolve this matter and give consideration to those women who have fled situations of domestic violence in certain circumstances and are often pushed into poverty, having to flee their abuser? An additional 4% tax placed on them could be removed by the Government and could be issued with clear guidance on the ways in which women can access this removal of this tax, and clarity on the evidence required in order to make sure that they are eligible for this. This should not be an arduous process, and I am sure the Government would seek to amend this to ensure that this does not create issues. It is all very well for the Government to encourage parents who have separated amicably to set up their own arrangement for paying child support as a cost-saving exercise. However, a maintenance tax on victims of domestic violence is not a feasible option for domestic abuse survivors. Child support payments are often relied upon as a way to establish a safe and independent life for a domestic abuse survivor and their children. So to charge these individuals puts their life at risk, and the survivors and their children, and I hope that the Minister will seek to address this issue and make a real commitment to these women who are trying to put their lives back together and to give their children a safe and happy childhood. Madam Deputy Speaker, in Scotland, we are committed to tackling domestic violence, and it is the priority of the Scottish Government. And while I recognise that the Scottish Government's commitment to doing so in legislation and in law is far ahead of the rest of the UK, I am sure that the UK Government will commit to following in the steps of the Scottish Government. As indicated, the Scottish Government are bringing forward a bill to create a specific offence of domestic abuse. This will not only cover physical abuse, but the forms of psychological and coercive controlling behaviour that cannot easily be prosecuted under the existing criminal law. This law will of course cover male and female perpetrators. However, as figures show, often more women are the victim of violence, and they will benefit most from this protection in law. It will not only act as a deterrent, but it will make clear that these sorts of behaviours are socially unacceptable. Madam Deputy Speaker, today this Government has a chance to make a statement and commit to ratifying the Istanbul Convention, or indeed next week in response to my honourable friend, the Member for Banff and Buchan's bill. This Government has taken an approach to child maintenance which is ethically dubious and practically dangerous, and it must be addressed. The systematic violence that exists in relationships must be tackled appropriately, and in addressing this serious issue that exists with the child maintenance service it places on survivors of domestic violence. Mr Deputy Speaker, every little girl deserves to grow up feeling safe, free from online abuse, stalking, violence, rape, sexual assault or fear of being killed. These are criminal offences. Every little girl deserves to grow up feeling safe.
Jess Phillips.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.